Hello and welcome to another exciting night of the Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition Randomizer Tournament. My screen name is Covert Muffin, and I am going to be casting with none other than Grimelia. Grim, how you doing, man?
Yo, I'm good. I'm good. Excited to commentate finally.
Yeah, this matchup tonight especially is an exciting one because we have two of the most well-versed randomizer runners in the agenda here tonight, which of course is Fluffy and Meldon. How are you feeling about this matchup, Grim?
I am very excited. This is something we were just chatting about in our little pre-game lobby, but as compared to some other runners, like notably Tara comes to mind as someone who he's a bit more experienced now, but compared to everyone else in the tournament, maybe has a bit less randomizer experience. These two have some of the most experience out of any of the participants. So at least knowledge-wise and execution-wise, it should be really interesting to see what kinds of decisions they make.
Yeah, especially like looking how they seeded in the free-for-all. So before we started the bracket phase, we held a free-for-all in order to seed our players in this bracket. We see Fluffy finishing in 6th, which is actually very, very impressive, and Meldon finishing in 11th. And of course, as Grim, you actually mentioned in the pre-show as well, it's very interesting because we sort of expected both of these players to seed a little bit higher. And this isn't like a testament of the people above them, but just that we have so many impressive runners, and as well as whenever you run a randomizer, random things happen. You never know what you're going to run into.
Right, that's definitely true. Even though there is so much randomness involved, obviously a lot of the skill, apart from your execution, is making strategic routing decisions on the fly based on where you think you're most likely to get good pickups. But there are some instances where it's really hard to know which one is objectively the correct decision, especially like the seed last night where they got so many skills early. Like I was watching that, I had no part in commentating it, but I was just watching thinking this would be really hard from their perspective. It's sort of easier when you're really restricted, when there's one place you can go, because then you don't have to get decision anxiety. You just go there and see what you get. But when you get a bunch of abilities early, that's where it can be really tough to know what the right choice is, and sometimes you might just get unlucky. Or
yeah, that's a really good point, Grim, because our runners are running what is known as a randomizer tonight. So normally in Ori and the Blind Forest, it's your generic Metroidvania with some great platform mechanics where all of the skills are usually distributed at very specific skill trees all across the map. Then when you get that skill, it opens up a new area of the map. Then backtracking to find unique pickups such as life cells and energy cells allow you to further progress Ori along and get stronger. However, in a randomizer, that all goes out the window. All of these things are thrown into a pool of items and then get randomly distributed throughout the map. But as Grim has mentioned a few times now, there is a logic attached to the randomizer. So that being said, you're always guaranteed to be able to finish out the randomizer and not get too strained. So it's going to be very interesting to see what our runners pick up first tonight, and it looks like we are about to get started. I am so excited for this.
Me too. Should be obvious. We've got Fluffy on the left and Meldon on the right. Right off the bat, this is going to be a theme for basically every single randomizer you watch. They have no choices at the beginning. They're going to start the game and they're going to go to the left. They'll get 2 pickups on the way to sign because that's literally the only thing you can do in the game at that point. And then after they get that second pickup, as always, they'll be pressing Alt-R, which is a shortcut introduced in randomizer, not present in the main game, that teleports you back to spawn. That teleport is necessary because given that you're going to be lacking so many skills in so many different randomizer seeds, it's pretty likely that you would get soft lock somewhere otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. And this energy cell is another sort of given thing in a randomizer. This first energy cell is always still an energy cell, and sign is always sign. But after we get past this, there's very few pickups throughout the rest of the match that will have guaranteed locations. And climb, oh my goodness. We are going to see a climb seed.
Oh god. It is sort of interesting, as Muffin mentioned, even though it is a randomizer, things are not just spread out completely randomly because it would be extremely likely that the seed would be unbeatable. It's still pretty random, but it's also guaranteed to be beatable, and that means that with some very rare exceptions, you're pretty much always going to get either wall jump or climb, maybe charge jump or bash and grenade, something that lets you gain some vertical height, which is going to let them get into black root burrows, and it seems almost certain that they will be going to BRB because they don't have any keystones yet. And so the next 2 pickups could both be keystones, but it's unlikely. So likely we'll see them get the 2 pickups, maybe check fake flippers if they feel like it, and then they'll be pressing Alt-R to go back to BRB. Although there's one keystone.
Ooh, there's a keystone.
So
yeah,
maybe I spoke too soon.
They could get access to growth, but I really like that point, Grim. Picking up these 2 pickups before heading into BRB is a pretty good choice. Oh, yes!
Never mind. I take it all back.
Oh, man. And with that early health regen pickup, they're going to see the experience, but no, neither player decides to keep the experience level up. So that's interesting. I think they're just going to look to level up by killing things as they go across. Maybe they'll find another experience pickup. But in map stone,
early on.
Excellent. So do you want to talk a bit about the map pedestals and how that's incorporated into the logic?
Yeah, so generally speaking, every item you get is just going to be an item and you pick it up and you have it. The map stones, and specifically the map altars or pedestals that you activate with map stones, are different. They're kind of like a fetch quest, where you can receive items after you've activated a certain number of them, and it doesn't actually matter. So they just activated 1 map altar and they got an extra air dash, which right now is irrelevant, but it'll be helpful later if they get dash, which they might not, but hopefully they'll get dash. But if they had activated another map altar first, they would have also gotten the extra air dash. So it's about the number of altars that you've activated rather than specifically which ones.
Yeah, that is a really good point, Brett. We see our fearless combatants going across, and Fluffy almost taking it from their front feet, but getting out just in time.
This is an area that's kind of neat, because unless you go way back to vanilla Ori days, you really never see this area with the purple spinners done, because there's no reason to do it. But there are a total of 4 pickups over here, and since they have climbed, they're going to be able to do it. What's interesting is that if you have enough health, you don't need to push this rock. There's sort of a small damage boost trick you can do, which Meldon could do with his health, but maybe he's just choosing not to.
Yeah, I like this play out of Meldon, just taking things nice and slow, taking it safe. It's very easy to try and to rush through things and get a little bit ahead of yourself, and that's what causes you to oftentimes make a lot of mistakes. And we see a second keystone. I wonder if either combatants are going to backtrack a little bit to try and go into West Glades. Just a strategy I like to do for the density of pickups. But I see Fluffy down the wall jump tree. Yeah, and both of them are going down.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting, and that's something we talked about earlier, is right at the start of the game, you have no choices. You go to the left and you go to sign, but now there's some options. They could Alt-R, they could go to BRB, they could go to left glades using the 2 keystones, they could get wall jump, which they happen to both be doing, but they didn't have to. And I remember you mentioning in commentary yesterday or the day before that you do tend to go to left glades, first, because there's a handful of pickups. So right now, these guys must be weighing their options, thinking, I have some options. Where are there the most pickups, and how can I traverse those areas the most quickly?
Yeah, interesting. And we see Fluffy now heading down to BRB. I wonder if Meldon's going to take the dive and try and check out West Glades before committing to BRB.
Looks like he is.
Oh, he is! Oh, I like this play out of Meldon. If Meldon finds something here early, such as dash, or another really vital pickup, like wall jump even, or a charge jump, it's going to make going through BRB a lot easier and a lot more proficient.
Right. Well, and that's something else that's really fascinating, is that you get your skills in such an unusual order that when you're trying to route your movement in a randomizer, it isn't just about the density of pickups, although that's a major consideration. It's also about the skills that you have, and whether 1, you can 100% complete an area, which you can't always do based on your skills, and then 2, whether you might be better off hoping to get another skill. Like BRB is a notoriously annoying area because you go there early game and you tend to not have very many skills, and it's pretty dangerous. There's spikes everywhere, and there's slimes, and it's just really easy to die. So Fluffy's going there first, and so he'll have that cleared, and maybe he'll get lucky. But Meldon's going a different route, and for all we know, one of these pickups could be charge jump or bash or something that lets him get through BRB much more quickly. But of course, neither runner has any way of knowing that. They just have to sort of weigh their options.
Yeah, and an interesting sort of bit of an advantage too is something known as information. Meldon here is taking an information advantage over Fluffy in this one specific area, whereas Fluffy going through BRB could pay off an
oh boy, you saw that
jump from Meldon. What a find! That is going to be so nice. It's too bad he doesn't have wall jump with this, but with climb, this is going to make some difficult tricks easier, like getting over to the ELO Jiminy Memorial Keystone. So we'll see what he does with this.
Yeah, getting to this keystone is pretty trivial with double jump, but without it is...
Oh, it is dash again! No fucking way! Oh, man.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Oh,
well, this is exactly what we talked about, because Meldon is now going to be able to get through BRB much more quickly, and So even though Fluffy is, well, he's ahead of him in BRB, although Fluffy also hasn't explored left glades, Meldon is going to probably pull ahead here overall with these new skills to be able to traverse this area more quickly.
Yeah, it brings the question, how long is it going to be until Fluffy is going to get over to West Glades? Two absolutely insanely powerful pickups for the movement tech in this game, which is double jump and dash right next to each other. Unreal. Meldon is definitely going to be diving through BRB at such a fast pace.
Right. There's also the question of whether Fluffy, after he gets the dash tree, which he'll be getting very shortly, barring catastrophe, no, he's good to go. He will probably turn around and go down to the boulder area and then go to the teleporter down there. And getting the teleporter next to the boulder is technically a sequence break, I think, at this point in the game. You're meant to go down near the boulder, but to get past the crushers without dash, it's not supposed to be doable. It is doable. You can sort of jump on top of them, but that means that it's sort of yet another aspect that you have to consider when you're doing randomizer is where does the logic necessarily expect you to go? And is it worth doing a sequence break if you might kind of be stuck with the skill that you were supposed to have?
Yeah, and there we saw Meldon getting the 33 experience pickup that Fluffy got a little bit earlier, but he took a different pathway than Fluffy did. Fluffy actually had to take the slow-moving platforms all the way around right by that orb location, but Meldon just having double jump early is going to be able to shave a little bit of time. So, wow, this is just unbelievable.
God, to be quite honest, just watching BRB gives me anxiety. This area is so spooky. Everything tries to murder you, and no matter what skills you have, it's just really scary.
Yeah, and only with climb as your way to like interact with walls as well. Oh my goodness. Yeah, like wall. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, you first.
Okay, yeah, so like wall jump is that one skill that whenever you do a casual playthrough of this game, you pick it up and then you immediately forget about it because it's like, oh, of course I can jump off walls. But no, in the randomizer, ooh, Sunstone at Dash Tree. That is actually kind of nice because Sunstone is one of those required 2 primary key items in order to progress towards the final escape. So that's really great for Fluffy, and Meldon's going to be coming across that in just a short bit of time as well.
It's always nice to get those key pickups early because you can just sort of mentally check it off. Although, you know, if you maybe had the ability to choose, you might opt for something like Stomp or Bash or a nice ability. You know that no matter what skills you have, you with 100% certainty must get at least the Water Vein and the Sunstone, and now Fluffy has one of them, and Meldon will be getting it pretty soon. That helps especially late game. Like in the worst case scenario, you might have to, given that this is limit keys, you might have to decide is it worth completing the Yinso escape or going into Forlorn Ruins or something like that, things that are very slow and time consuming, whereas since they will already have the Sunstone, that'll make it much more likely that they won't have to do those crazy out of the way escape sequences.
That's an excellent point, Grim, because we're using a form of logic known as limit keys, and this means that Water Vein and Sunstone, which are required to finish a speedrun of all skill trees in the randomizer, can only be found at major events and skill trees themselves. So that is absolutely great picking up Sunstone that early. I could not agree more.
Now, this is interesting. I'm looking at Fluffy's screen on the left side. Meldon is, getting his dash tree right now. Well, I take it back. I was literally about to say that they've only activated 1 mapstone, and given the sort of fetch quest nature of mapstones, you'd have to get unlucky. But it's always possible that something like Bash is at like the 6th mapstone or something really silly like that. And so, as far as important pickups go, it's always very nice to get your mapstones. Grenade for Fluffy.
Oh, that's grenade!
Huge.
Yeah,
That's
allowing
huge.
them to get to Charge Flame Tree and be able to take out those petrified plants early on is going to be so nice. And then if they pick up Bash, they no longer have to rely on Climb as their vertical movement ability. They can just bash grenade everywhere.
We also saw Fluffy do a small, it's not exactly a sequence break, it sort of is. You can use the Frankie to break the boulder where ordinarily you would need Stomp to do it. And they ended up getting a Keystone from it. And Keystones are an item that they don't feel maybe as exciting as like Stomp or Bash or Dash or one of the really cool abilities, but you can get gated pretty easily in randomizers by Keystones if you're not careful.
Look at this, Grim. Fluffy is actually not going to go to Charge Flame Tree immediately, instead going to go to West Glade. Says, there's a high density of pickups over there. I wonder if I'm going to find anything useful.
Well, that's very true. It might be more than that, though. And this is something that I've had to notice for myself doing randomizers, is sequence breaks feel very appealing because we're filthy cheating speedrunners and we like doing things in the wrong order. But if he had gone to Charge Flame, these guys don't have Charge Jump, and there's a breakable barricade that's supposed to gate your entry into Charge Flame, which means if he went to Charge Flame first, he could get a few pickups, but then he might have to turn around and come this way anyway. And Fluffy has enough randomizer experience that he knows that. So it's always possible that he would go towards Charge Flame, get Charge Jump, and save time by not having to open this four keystone door. I want to interrupt myself. Double Jump's right over there, and he doesn't know it.
Fluffy, turn around. It's right there. Yeah,
I feel so.
Fluffy doesn't have Double Jump yet. It's the keystone to the right there, but he's trying to get to the ELO Memorial Keystone by just doing the climb trick, which is what
this trick is super hard. It is not... Yep, and there's Double Jump.
I just can only imagine what's going through Fluffy's head right now.
Oh, God, yeah.
And now he's going to get dashed. So if you're Fluffy in this case, do you feel like you're ahead, behind, or on the same pace as Meldon, who just picked up Grenade?
It's hard to know. I think if I were Fluffy, I would just feel like I'd probably be pretty close to tied. I mean, he knows how good Meldon is. He knows that Meldon is likely making many of the same routing decisions that he is. There's really only been one major difference in routing, is one person went to left glades first and the other person went to BRB first. But given the amount of time that's passed, I think Fluffy could probably assume that Meldon has done both now. I don't think either runner could assume that they're ready for ahead. Bash.
Oh man. So Bash
That's
and
huge.
Stomp are, yeah, like two of the most important skills for not sequence breaking into Valley. So the logic expects to have both of them, and Bash, just having Bash early, Double Jump and Bash, two of the most versatile skills in the entire game. They're
Right,
just
well, I mean,
given to him. Man.
You may have just mentioned this, but having Bash in conjunction with Grenade lets you gain pretty much as much vertical height as you want, even without Charge Jump. You can't break barricades like you can with Charge Jump, but you can gain a lot of height.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm sure both runners are going to be extremely excited and very happy to have Bash, Grenade, and Double Jump. This is absolutely amazing seed. And then Dash on top of everything.
By the way,
yes.
it looks like Meldon made the same routing choice that Fluffy did, where even though he could have used Grenade to get into Charge Flame early, he opted to go the long way, knowing that it was statistically unlikely that he'll get Charge Jump along the way. Although if you look at Fluffy's screen, he's already in the Charge Flame area, so we'll get to see very soon. Oh wait, am I blind? Did he already do that? Because he got Bash already.
Yeah, so Meldon picked up Bash, but that's okay. Now they're both
okay. Ignore
on
me.
skills,
Ignore me.
It looks like. And Fluffy is now going to be picking up Charge Flame Tree. Let's see what we have here. It's an ability cell. Excellent. All right.
That is interesting. That as our truck is helping us out, noticing even though Meldon is in the right area, he picked up Bash. He opted to not go immediately down to the tree. I wonder why that is.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe just saying, oh, okay, I found a really powerful ability, and I'm just going to circle around because I know I will most likely have to travel through this key door. Only having two pickups up there, it's pretty rare that he's going to find Charge Jump, especially after being dealt a hand like this.
Right.
With the keystone. So a little bit of planning and strategy coming out of Meldon. Definitely showing off the type of knowledge-based player he is in this regard. How impressive. That's insane.
So, I'll ask you a question then. Given this race as it currently stands, who would you say is ahead, if either one? We talked about maybe what they think about whether they're ahead. Since we, are omnipotent, we have all this information. Who do you think is ahead?
I probably have to give it to Fluffy at this point. He's a little bit further along, where they have the same skills and now the same skill trees. But Fluffy just eking out just a little bit ahead into that spider sack area, but this race is insanely close for him. But it'll be very interesting, as you mentioned, to see where the players go now with the information that they have. Are they going to head directly over to Swamp to try and get in, or are they going to try and go down to Moon Grotto and clear out an area with a high density of abilities?
See, this is so interesting. I agree with you that Fluffy's a little bit ahead. Meldon is just going into the spider sack area while Fluffy is sort of coming out the other end. He's taking a 100% kind of approach, getting every single pickup that he can, which is a very smart decision, because even though, given that this is limit keys, you know that the keys will only be at major events. You can't know the same about skills, and any one of these pickups, even though he's going way out of his way and just getting, you know, sort of useless bits of experience, he has no way of knowing that any one of these abilities could be something crucial, which is why he has to get as many things as he can.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, Grim, because even though they've gotten some really powerful skills... Wait, what is this? Fluffy standing?
You can stand there. You can stand there.
What? Oh, man. Dude,
I've done that by
Fluffy showing
accident.
us-
I didn't know you could do it consistently. That's good to know, honestly.
Yeah, that is good to know. Wow. Fluffy showing off the swag. What a boss.
I think it is interesting, though, given the experience of these two players. They are making largely the same decisions. You know, we saw that difference between going to BRB first or going to left Glades first, but otherwise they're sort of getting all the same pickups. Meldon just a little bit behind, but this is pretty close.
Yeah, Fluffy taking the first divergent path, which is not a very commonly traversed one. He's going to check what this Baneling is going to get him on the Stompable for. It's just going to be a Keystone. Okay, let's see if he actually decides... No, he's not going to go into Horror Field. I like this choice from Fluffy. He says, I'm going to have this one pick up and then not do anything too.
Although, to be honest, I mean, again, a Keystone isn't as flashy as a more valuable skill like Stomp, but this early in the game, they're still pretty valuable because over the course of the run, you actually do need a fair number of Keystones. You need 4 to get to Charge Flame, or Charged Jump, excuse me. You need 4 to get to Bash, you need 2 to get to Stomp, and you need 2 down in Grotto, so you need a fair number of them. And given the way that the randomizer lays out the items, you're guaranteed that it is always possible to get that many Keystones without duping them, but you might lose a ton of time if you explore things in the wrong order. Yeah,
that's a very good point, Grim. Primary resources are insanely important. If you're here for the Mr. Randomson versus Raziel race, it actually came down to primary resources in the end because they got dealt such an insanely powerful seed where they literally had every single skill they could ever dream of right at the start. But yeah, now we see Fluffy heading up. It's going to check the Stomp's ability cell over here. And it's an ability cell! No
Hooray!
So,
Fluffy going by the tree right now, he activated the Thornfelt Teleporter, which is sort of a good rule of thumb when you're doing randomizers, is to try to activate as many teleporters as quickly as you can.
Oh, yeah.
He can't get into the tree yet since he doesn't have Water Vein, but he can go explore a whole bunch of things. And another good thing about getting Grenade super early is that Grenade being a Definitive Edition exclusive skill, the developers took a lot of things in the base game and they sort of gated it behind these Grenade doors. So having Grenade lets you confidently 100% different areas, whereas without Grenade, you'd have to sort of get almost everything in a section and know that you might have to come back later. So it's a nice peace of mind to know that you can clear it out completely.
You know what? That is a very, very important and good point made there, Grim, about backtracking costing time. Like, normally you think of a speed run and you say, okay, I know exactly where I have to go. I know exactly what I have to do. So I'm going to quickly execute those things as fast as possible. In the randomizer, there definitely is a bit of a skill cap in that regard. However, it is very, very important that you try and limit how much you end up backtracking through an entire seed. You can just find yourself spending minutes going back and visiting places that you might have missed 1 or 2 key pickups.
Right. There's another thing I wanted to point out, which is a good job by our truck. Actually gave me some information on it before I even had to think about it. There's a lot of different considerations when you're looking at randomize. You talk about resources that you need, like Keystones. Energy is another one because there are a lot of 4 energy doors. There are some glitches and tricks you can do to open 4 energy doors with like 3 energy, but generally speaking, you obviously want 4 energy to open your 4 energy doors. And it looks like Fluffy does now have 4 energy cells, although I think they have both picked up a mega energy. So the amount of energy you see on screen may not be the actual number of energy cells that they have at the moment. But that's got to be another sort of peace of mind kind of thing for them, knowing that they do have enough energy to get into some of these doors.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's the 4 energy door down in Moon Grotto, which is I've had so many seeds where they just stick an important ability down there, like Stomp or Charge Jump, that the logic may expect you that. And, ooh, Fluffy trying to get into
Interesting.
Swamps. Yeah, going to use some grenades here to break this floor and drain out the water.
Now, the issue being here, of course, the water's poison.
Yep.
I haven't missed clean water.
Yeah. Oh, no, just checking the pickup. and then he's going to head back towards it. Okay. All right. Whew.
I mean, that's a smart. It's hard to say. That is a smart choice because it is actually impossible for him to get into swamp that way. It requires, don't quote me on this, I want to say 14 health or 7 health with ultra defense to get through that water there, which he does not have either one of those.
Yeah, that's a lot of health.
It's still interesting, though, that he went to get that one pickup. That's one that I would normally not think of since it's pretty far out of the way to just get the one of them.
Yeah, wow. Fluffy rolling in the energy cell. So it looks like he's up to 6 now. This is going to be really powerful for our runners later on if Meldon does continue to take the same paths that Fluffy indeed is doing. Because this is going to open 4 energy doors, but it's also going to give him a lot of energy for charge dashes later on, where you can usually get through large horizontal areas like Misty very, very fast.
Now, I think this is one of the indicators of Fluffy's and Meldon's experience in that they are doing so well at clearing 100% of the map, even though they don't have on paper what they need to do it. For example, Fluffy just successfully opened and explored the 4 energy door underwater in the Death Gauntlet, even though he doesn't have clean water. But he knew that he had enough health. He knew that he could open the door without going into the water so that he could, well, explore it without dying. And that's just one extra pickup that he can check off his list because there's a lot of pickups in this game.
Yeah, just like you were saying before the match started, Grim, very nice analysis about how these players definitely have a ton of experience, a ton of knowledge, and just really great methodology for just going through the randomizer and just knowing what the logic can expect of them to churn through in the least possible time. Really impressive stuff here.
Agreed. So imagine that you're Fluffy or Meldon. What are you sort of thinking right now? You know, we're sort of watching the abilities they have and watching where they're choosing to explore next. Is there anything that you think you would be doing differently from these guys at the moment?
You know what? I don't know if I would be doing anything much different, but it looks like both of the players have yet to really dive down into Moon Grotto. We see Fluffy now just going for the health cell and just recently picking up Charge Flame coming from the truck. But we haven't really seen a lot of skill trees be picked up in the last bit. It's mostly just been clearing out the abilities to try and either find Stomp or Charge Jump or something else that's going to give them the edge, because they have Climb. Climb is such a powerful ability, especially with Charge Jump and Grenade. It's going to allow them to churn through certain areas really fast. And look at that double Charge Frame from Fluffy. Beautiful technique there to take out those plants.
He's clearing these things out very, very fast.
Yeah, what I would like to see out of both players, though, is to just try and go down to that skill tree and see if they can pick up Water Vein. Wall jump from Fluffy over on the left behind the column puzzle. That is definitely going to be a pickup. He's going to be so relieved to find. Climb seeds can be so brutal for getting around.
They really can, and I think it's a smart choice that they didn't go down to Grotto earlier. Grotto is an area that you can generally get to pretty early if you get Stomp or if you get the ability to break blue walls using either Charge Flame or Grenade. But there's actually a decent little bit that's required to 100% Grotto. You need 4 energy or at least a Mega Energy that lets you temporarily get 4 energy to finish the area that Fluffy's in now by the Rolling Crushers. You need 2 Keystones. You don't need Double Jump, but it's really nice to have. And speaking of Double Jump, Fluffy now has Triple Jump.
Yeah, that is so nice. Yeah, and absolutely. And so really sort of what's limiting our runners right now is they don't have Stomp and they don't have Charge Jump or Water Vein. So if either of them found Water Vein over there, they'd have Sunstone, so they know they do not have to do Ginso Escape to find Sunstone. So if they're able to just clear out up to Bash Tree, they're most likely going to find Stomp pretty soon. That's going to get them access to Valley in the final 2 doors.
Yep,
and there it is! Yep, Fluffy picking up Stomp. Oh my goodness, behind the 4 energy door area. He's definitely on track to be able to get access to Valley.
Now, this is where things get interesting, because I'm thinking, you know, like if I was playing this seed, having Stomp is very nice because it lets you get over to the left side of the map. You can do it without Stomp, but it's just way easier if you have it. We'll also see Fluffy activate this map alter. It's an energy cell, not that useful at this point, but you can get through a lot of the map without Stomp or like without Glide, even without like Double Jump or Bash. Thankfully, they have a lot of the skills already. But I wonder, especially from Fluffy's perspective, since he doesn't have Glide, what his priorities are going to be. I'm guessing that with his experience, he's going to go down to, well, he's going to go down to Double Jump Tree because he has to. And then I'm guessing he'll turn around and go left side almost immediately.
Yeah, Grim, I think you're absolutely on point with this. There's one more tree also that he could check, which is going to be the light grenade tree, because he can stomp that breakable floor. He doesn't need charge jump anymore. And so it's going to be interesting to see what Fluffy does next. Is he going to try and clear out grenade tree in hopes of finding water vein? Or is he going to directly travel over to Sunstone and take his risk with going to charge jump tree and picking up Sunstone location?
Right, and as Fant in the truck just pointed out, and Richard pointed out, two things happened. One, Fluffy is starting to skip pickups, which we can pretty well assume means that he's just going to sort of start rushing things and try to get to the end of the game as fast as he can, with or without glide. Second is that Fluffy got ultra defense, which is going to make his traversal without glide way easier, since he'll only be taking half damage.
Ooh, Fluffy heading to Swamp here. Gonna go for that Stomp Tree over in the right. I like this play.
This is interesting. He has 7 health. He can do this with ultra defense. Just barely, I think he can do it.
Yeah, I think so too, especially with Bash. He's going to be able to use these fish, and he's not going to have to worry about any Revenge of the Fish situation accruing. So here we go. In the Swamp now, going for that 2-key door to get access to Stomp Tree.
This is a very good call by Fluffy, a very logical one. He knows his opponent. He knows Meldon happens to be a little bit behind, but of course Fluffy has no way of knowing that. So, a good rocket jump there.
And there we go, 35 experience it looks like, coming out of Stomp Tree, so not a water vein, not quite yet, but we'll see where Fluffy heads.
Right, we do still have a bunch of trees. There's Sorrow Pass for charge jump. There's Misty Woods for the climb tree, not necessarily the skill, but the trees. You can go down to Light Grenade, and there's Feather. So there's at least 4 sort of normal pickups that they can hope one of them is water vein before they have to start doing god-awful things like Forlorn Ruins.
Yeah,
no
here we
offense
go.
To your doubles team name.
It's okay. I have an icy cold heart, so...
That's fair, that's fair.
We've learned to embrace Forlorn to the full extent. But anyways, it looks like Meldon now, caught up on Stomp, is going to be heading down to the double jump tree. He's not going to find water vein or anything that he directly needs over here. But it'll be interesting to see if he actually follows Fluffy's pursuit in going over to Swamp, or if he's going to head down to Light Grenade Tree, which Fluffy decides to go get the Valley Teleporter, or even explore Valley before he goes down there.
Now this is really tricky. Again, of course, our runners have no way of knowing how the other person is doing, but we know that Fluffy is ahead. So given similar routes and given these guys' knowledge of the game, as well as their skill in executing the different moves, Meldon has an uphill battle ahead of him to catch up to Fluffy and win this, unless he goes a different route and gets maybe Wind Restored and Glide or something that would let him explore these areas much more quickly. And it looks like Meldon is going down to Light Grenade.
You know, this could be exactly what Meldon needs in order to clinch back into first place. If he's going to find water vein here, this is such crucial information, especially if Fluffy decides to go to Sunstone, because of course in the limit key setting you can either find water vein at a skill tree or a major event. So Fluffy might actually head up to Sorrow in order to check charge jump. Oh no. Oh, he's doing it. Okay, well, we'll see what is at Grenade Tree. Oh my goodness, the anticipation is boiling over.
By the way, worth pointing out that just like Fluffy is intentionally skipping pickups, he has, decided I am effectively in go mode. I'm just going to go for it, even if it's not the most optimally that I could move around. Meldon is still getting pickups, so he's still hoping for that glide pickup.
Oh, 105 experience at the Grenade Tree. Fluffy risking not going to Grenade Tree immediately. This might actually pay off for him. He is...
Now, sorry to interrupt. Feather was also not anything important. I think it was an energy cell. So that cuts in half. That now only leaves 2 trees, the one in Misty and the one in Sorrow Pass, that could contain water vein, or it could be one of the escapes. Am I thinking through that correctly?
Yes, I believe you are, Grim. But interesting point also about Glide is that Fluffy doesn't have it, so he's trying to get a frog there to break that wall, because he doesn't have charge jump either, and this is going to get him access to this top area. But guess what? Without Glide, you only have 7 health. Well, good luck damage boosting through this minefield of spikes.
Yep.
Oh, a mega health pickup, though, is going to get Fluffy a few damage boosts, and health regen! Yes! On the first try! Whoa.
And he's doing a key dupe. He's doing a key dupe, too.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, smart play here from Fluffy. Now he knows that Mega Health is there. This is going to drastically make this entire section easier. And oh man, here we go again. Oh, Fluffy!
I can't believe it.
Oh my god! And he's key-duping again, the madman. Wow, what a show of skill and complacency coming out of Fluffy. This is absolutely impressive.
By the way, right side of your screen, we do see Meldon going left side now. He's checked more of the map, which means he, I don't want to use the term wasted because, again, Meldon had no way of knowing what the pickups were, but he took a bunch of his time to explore more of the map, which means he's now even further behind Fluffy. I wonder if Meldon will get super lucky and maybe end up finding Glide like along the way to Feather.
You know, that could be a huge play from Meldon if he's actually able to track down Glide, or even something like Charge Jump, which is going to make scouring through Sorrow that much easier.
Do you want to talk about duping keys for a second? Because Fluffy's duping a whole lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you leave a certain number of keys, which is 3 or less in a door, and then take a death, if your save is placed far enough away from the door, this allows you to add those keys to your inventory. Then upon saving, you both get that refreshed keys back that you put in the door initially, as well as those 3 new keys that came out of the door after you died. Then if you save after that, boom, they get saved on top of that. So basically what Fluffy is doing every single time he does this is getting an extra 3 keys. And wow, he's going ham. He does not want to run out of keys, Grim.
See, this is something that, to be honest, surprises me. Fluffy is not the first person we've seen in this tournament dupe a whole bunch of keys. It's not uncommon to see 1 dupe, but to see that many is pretty uncommon, and the reason it's uncommon is that it's usually just not necessary. I mean, Fluffy's logic is pretty straightforward. He got a keystone from Charge Jump.
Oh, the irony.
His logic is very straightforward. He knows that he needs a certain minimum number of keystones to progress through the rest of the game, and he wants to just make absolutely sure that he has enough rather than being stuck somewhere else and having to get more. That said, like even just going towards Climb Tree, even without going out of the way for any additional pickups, there's still going to be like a handful that are required along the way, and any one of them could be some keystones. And so I wonder if Fluffy's just trying to get enough keystones to get to the remaining trees that he needs, or whether he's trying to also prepare himself for the potential of having to complete the Ginso tree or anything. You know, because he duped a lot of keys there, more than I would have expected.
Yeah, that is a lot of keys. But this is good news for Fluffy because Charge Jump Tree actually didn't turn out to be anything. And now he's going to be heading down to Grenade Tree. But, oh man, Grid, this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Fluffy's going to have to go back into Sorrow if that is indeed where Water Vein is, up at Sunstone. Just not having a way to go into there made him have to teleport out. So it is entirely likely that we could see both Fluffy and Meldon have to make their way up to Sunstone, but this is insanely difficult because all they have are Grenade and Bash, and they don't have Charge Jump. Like, no Charge Jump makes getting up to Sunstone so difficult without Glide.
It does. Now, Meldon is going into Misty first. That's an area that Fluffy has not been to yet.
Yeah.
That is really interesting. This could be a case of Meldon getting very lucky if Climb has Water Vein. That doesn't exactly lose Fluffy time. Fluffy would have had to go to all of these trees anyway, but like, what if Meldon gets Glide along the way as well? Even though Fluffy's ahead right now in terms of trees, we could still see this turn around.
Yeah, here we go. We see Meldon fastly approaching Climb Tree. And Fluffy hot on his trail, seeing some charge dashes coming out of Fluffy in order to move through really quickly. Oh, man.
Now, Meldon is still going and getting every single pickup, so he still wants Glide. He hasn't given up on it.
Yeah, he wants it. Absolutely. There is definitely no testament of how increasing consistency is a bad thing in a randomizer. And so having Glide is just one of those just beautiful utilities.
By the way, health regen just saved Meldon. He went down to what looks like 0 health, but really it's, even though this game appears to store its health in, you know, integer chunks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's actually a floating point number. So even though it looked like Meldon is dead, with health regen, he must have had like 0.1 health or something.
Grim. Guess what Meldon just found in the Climb Tree?
He found Gumon Seal. That means that we, being the omnipotent commentators, know that none of the skill trees contain Water Vein. And that means that it has to be either Sunstone or the Gumon Seal normal pickup, or in Forlorn.
Or in the best possible place it could ever land up. Oh man, Forlorn Seed one time.
In the nicest possible way to Meldon and Fluffy, I really hope it's in Forlorn. Is that terrible?
Yeah. No, I don't think we've had a Forlorn Seed yet. I would really love to see one. Mm-hmm. Oh man.
But now see, this is really interesting too. It's a cool choice by Meldon. Meldon, unlike Fluffy, has not explored the other skill tree, so for all he knows, Fluffy has Water Vein. But Meldon is still choosing to complete Misty Woods.
You know, I like this choice also out of Meldon. Once you sort of commit in Misty, it's a lot of backtracking in order to get back to the point of Climb Tree. So Meldon says, it's going to be taking me less time now to just go do Gumon Seal, and then progress through. But of course, oh my goodness. Looking at Fluffy, he's now caught up with Meldon. Meldon taking a lot of that extra time to get those extra pickups. But Fluffy just going through with a purpose.
This is just so unlucky for Meldon that he's gone out of his way to get so many pickups and none of them are glide. I mean, he's not making any bad decisions. He has no way of knowing what any of these pickups are. Any one of them could be what he needs.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, he's been spending a lot of valuable time, especially against an opponent as good as Fluffy. And I wonder if it's going to... Well, I guess I was going to say I wonder if it's going to pay off, but it kind of already hasn't. As we said, Fluffy is in the same area as Meldon right now, and if the vanilla Gumon Seal pickup ends up being Water Vein, then Meldon is going to... I think that'll pretty well call it for Meldon, because then Fluffy will just be able to rush the Bash Tree.
Yeah, Fluffy is in a huge advantage right now, because as you said, Meldon hasn't been to Sorrow yet, but Fluffy has not only gotten Charge Jump Tree, but has also key duped like no other. And Meldon's going to have to commit a lot of keys to this 4-key door in order to get access to the vanilla Gumon Seal location. So this is indeed Water Vein coming out of this pedestal turn-in. Meldon's not only going to have to spend the 4 keys in Ginso to get to Bash Tree, but also another 4 keystones to get to Charge Jump Tree.
Fluffy actually pulled pretty well ahead. I mean, he's already at the Gumon Seal pickup. He has to do a double key dupe because his cutscene's weird, but he'll be picking it up in a moment, and then he'll be able to see whether it was Water Vein or not.
Yeah, here we go.
What is it? It's not.
It's not. Oh man! Oh, 50% chance of a Forlorn Seed. Come on, man.
Okay,
just
so
I'm
gonna put you in their shoes again. If you're Fluffy, what do you do right now?
I go.
I know what I would do.
Yeah.
You go to Forlorn?
I would. It's so insanely hard in order to make it all the way over to the Sunstone location with the skill set that Fluffy has right now. No charge jump, no glide. He's already been into Sorrow once. I would head down, take Forlorn. It's going to take a little bit longer, but you're just putting your eggs in this basket at this point. Because
and it looks like...
Yeah.
It looks like that's where he's going.
Yeah,
he's making the same judgment call that you are. They still don't have glide. It is entirely possible that one of these pickups along the way to Forlorn could be glide. I wonder if we'll see Fluffy even bother checking it. It looks like not. It looks like he's just going for it. Just saying, I don't care that I don't have glide. It's not worth the time to check. Yeah,
it looks like Fluffy now is abandoning the Fluffy way and embracing Team Forlorn. Here we go.
Finally, a Forlorn Seed. Now, again, It might not be in Forlorn. It might be Sunstone.
Yeah, I kind of had hoped that Meldon would have found glide or something, just coincidentally, and been able to get through Sorrow really fast and got up to Sunstone, because that would have been an interesting turn of events and even a race. But man, here we go, Forlorn.
Now again.
Yep, go on.
Sorry, we look at their 2 screens. You look at what each person's doing. Meldon has a pretty significant lead. He has every single tree except for Bash, and of course he can't get Bash because he can't get into the Ginso tree. Meldon, on the other hand, is pretty far behind. He still doesn't have glide. So in terms of skills, Meldon and Fluffy have the same set of skills. So Meldon is, from his perspective, making exactly the right choice, saying there's still a lot of different places where Water Vein could be, and I'm not going to go down to Forlorn if I don't have to.
Yeah, especially without Charge Jump or Glide. It makes going through Forlorn actually a lot more difficult. Luckily, our players do have Grenade Bash, though, and Double Jump, so you can actually set up some really nice Grenade Bashes. And I like this decision from Fluffy, not taking the vanilla route of using the orb in order to get through Forlorn, but instead just using Grenade Bash to pave the way.
He's not even bothering to check the keystones, which any one of them could be Glide. He's not even bothering.
Nope. Yep. Or Charge Jump.
Yep, could be.
Oh, man.
We just saw Meldon check another Mapstone. It's nothing. It's nothing valuable.
Yeah, nothing valuable out of those Mapstone pedestals. Picking up a Keystone, though, is going to bring him up to, it looks like maybe 4 Keystones. So that's all he needs to get through Charge Jump Tree. But once again, he...
Sorry,
no!
Meldon's having a frog party.
Oh man, and he just leveled up there. So he almost actually killed the frog that he was trying to go off. But of course, he's going to find a Mega Health here, which is actually going to be very nice. Oh no, he doesn't have Ultra Defense. He just died in 2 hits there.
Oh my god, doing this without Ultra Defense is...
Wait. Oh, no, he hasn't. He must have just dashed into it and I just missed it. Okay. Ooh, Meldon. Oh, scaring me there, man.
Now, are we going to see him key dupe? No, we are not.
Oh. Ooh, how do you feel about this play, Grim?
From Meldon for not key duping?
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely the right play. He has to know that...
Okay.
Or he has to make an assumption that he's probably behind at this point. I mean, even though these runners, for very obvious reasons, cannot see each other, or they can't hear chat or any of that stuff, they can see the SRL race. So Meldon knows that Fluffy hasn't finished. What that means is that, from Meldon's perspective, one of 2 things is happening. Either Fluffy's taking the same approach as Meldon and being very thorough, trying to get Glide, or Fluffy has checked sort of a whole bunch of stuff already, and that probably means that he's quite far ahead. So Meldon probably knows that he probably can't waste the time key duping. He kind of just has to go for it and hope that he gets enough keystones naturally. And that's not the only place he can key dupe, but that's the fastest.
Right, absolutely. And here we see Meldon now heading over to Swamp. Fluffy, of course, got Swamp pretty early, so Fluffy definitely in the lead here. But, oh, what's this? Fluffy's teleporting out. Oh, no.
Did he get it? Did he get the water vein? Did we miss it?
Oh, maybe he's heading back now.
Wait, I see chat saying water vein.
Oh man, yeah, looks like Fluffy now heading all the way over to Ginso, and it looks like, yes, indeed, we saw Forlorn have water vein. Yes!
We got what we wanted. We got the Forlorn seed. Unfortunately, that's probably going to seal it for Meldon. I don't know how he could catch up quickly enough. All Fluffy has to do is get to Bash, and it won't take him long with his current skill set. He doesn't have Charge Jump, which would make it even easier, but still, Ginso's going to be no problem for him, and then he just has to do the escape.
Yeah,
neither one will take him super long.
And it's pretty interesting here, Grim, because we've been talking a lot about, like, oh, I wonder if Meldon feels like he's ahead, if he's behind, or he's tied. Because both of these runners actually are not allowed to look at their Twitch chats or watch each other's streams. So they have no idea how far ahead or behind they are relative to their opponent. And so here Meldon doing a smart thing and just checking a lot of different stuff. But nope, he's going to teleport back out now and probably also go for Forlorn. But you're absolutely right. If this is Fluffy's run to lose, he's so far in the lead right now, almost a Bash tree.
Yeah, and it's sort of what we talked about at the beginning. Is I wonder how, Meldon's I don't expect him to get really angry or salty. He's not that kind of person. But like after a randomizer race like this, it can be very easy to go back and try to analyze what you did right or wrong. And the reality of this situation, the race isn't over yet, but as we said, it'd be very hard for Fluffy to lose. The reality of this situation is Meldon decided to look for Glide and Fluffy didn't. And that's just sort of unlucky on Meldon's part.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now we see Fluffy picking up his final skill tree. It's going to be 92 experience. Lots of experience here at these skill trees. And he's going to be heading over to Mount Horror to finish the final escape in order to finish out the run.
Mm-hmm. Meldon, by the way, as you predicted, making the same choice that Fluffy did. He could go to Sunstone, but he's not. He's going over to Forlorn, knowing that it's faster and easier without Glide. Traversing all the way up to Sunstone is such a pain.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we go. We see Fluffy now at the Thornfelt Swamp. Teleporter is going to be heading over to Horu Fields, and Meldon's going to be entering that there Forlorn ruins.
Well, lucky for Meldon, he'll soon have his answer of where the stupid water vein is.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it's going to be too late. Even after getting this, he'll have to go to Bash, of course, after he gets Water Vein, but he still has to go get, what tree is that? Charge Jump? I thought we got Charge Jump.
I believe he did, and then just dipped out before he went and got Sunstone.
Okay, so maybe Meldon not as far behind as I thought. He's still not going to be able to catch up to Fluffy, but I sort of thought he was further behind than he was.
Yeah, this is pretty insane because, as you were bringing up earlier, Meldon decided to explore a lot of the areas and get pickups, whereas Fluffy went for the more pickup-starved approach. After he just had everything he needed for Valley, he's like, all right, I'm going for the trees, and just went over there. And that's absolutely what paid off for him in the end here. Of course, key duping a lot, which was pretty cool to see. Gave Meldon a chance, but here we go. Fluffy now entering the final escape with a third try door warp.
Third try door warp. What's our tournament average? Do you know offhand?
I do not, but I think it's under 2 because people kept getting first tries.
Oh, interesting. Right side of your screen, Meldon is key duping in Forlorn. I didn't actually know you could do this here.
Oh yeah, this is so convenient because the key door is directly next to the spider here that can kill you. And then the teleporter where you save is literally right there. So it's like a foolproof way of key duping.
Right, I guess I misspoke when I said that the Sunstone area was the fastest. I guess it would be the fastest if you had Feather and... well, if you had Feather.
Interesting. Yeah, probably. But here we go. Oh, Fluffy accidentally charge dashing wrong direction. Gonna die a lava born death. But it'll be good to see if we see Fluffy suffer the revenge of the fish.
By the way, to answer the question from a moment ago, looks like our door warp average is 2.3, repeating, of course.
Ooh, that is an excellent number. I'm gonna have to bring that average down when I get a 7th try door warp again.
Yo, same. Fluffy nearly at the end. They still don't have clean water, but it doesn't matter because they have 1 billion health.
Yep, and with Bash, Fluffy is going to escape Revenge of the Fish and start heading up without Feather and without Charge Jump. Is going to be able to scale up this wall, but he is climbing Grenade, so he should be absolutely fine. Yeah, there we go. Seeing him bash up to the end. GG, Fluffy, holding right. He's going to take this victory.
Very good job by Fluffy. As we've mentioned a few times now, it was just sort of a judgment call. Fluffy decided, I'm just going to rush trees and sort of maybe hope that I get Glide, but not expect to. Meldon still sort of going out his way to search for it. He still doesn't know how Fluffy's doing, by the way. Fluffy hasn't finished yet, so there's no message in the SRL race saying that Fluffy's finished quite yet.
Oh, yeah, and so this is going to be interesting for Meldon. He's now about to pick up Water Vein without, unfortunately, finishing the greatest escape to ever do when you don't have Charge Jump or Glide, but that's okay. I can't fault him for it. It's pretty tricky. And then he's going to be heading over to Ginso to clear out the final skill tree that he requires before going to the final escape.
Definitely. Fluffy on the left side, just about done with his run. He just has to waddle to the right a little bit with Naru. Go talk to the big owl.
Yeah, let's see if Fluffy goes for any jump optimizations of Naru. This is so close to sub 50. If he just gets those perfect strafe jump angles, he might be able to make it through. Oh no, he's just walking.
Well, GG to Fluffy. That's a very impressive time, especially given where the Water Vein was. That was a pretty... Again, it could have been either there or in Sunstone, and without Glide, those are both pretty awful places to get to.
Yeah, it's pretty insane to climb tree having Gumon Seal, so they really had to dig for that Gumon Seal to get access into Forlorn to begin with as well. They didn't realize that it would be an option on the table. But having done enough of the skill trees in major events, they eventually found their way to Forlorn. I really like that decision-making coming out of both players to go to Forlorn instead of trying to dig for a skill or ability that would have gotten them access to Sunstone. Very, very smart play coming out of both of our runners tonight.
Agreed. Meldon, meanwhile, has picked up his Water Vein, same as Fluffy, and he's in the tree. He'll just have to go through some rooms. He's doing like a sort of easier, abridged version of telehopping.
Nice. The swag.
Definitely the swag.
Yeah, like Ginso Tree is absolutely one of my favorite places to go like later in the randomizer because you just have like all of these awesome epic skills that just allow you to go so fast through it. Feels so good.
Agreed. Honestly, I watched the all skills task again last night, and I was very confused about it. I'm like, why aren't you all Ring? What do you mean that? Wow, really lucky that those are 2 keystones.
Yeah. Oh man.
By the way, this mini boss from Meldon right now was one of my favorite things. In vanilla, or at least in the all skills run, you just have to sort of poke him to death with the regular Spirit Flame. But in Randomizer, you almost always have a ton of skills, including Spirit Flame upgrades and Charge Flame and Charge Dash and everything else, and so you can just royally wreck him.
Yeah, absolutely. So all Meldon has to do now is get through this 4-key door and get Dash, and having even more than enough keystones after key duping and Forlorn, he's going to be able to make it through. Excellent.
We still don't know where Glide was.
Yeah, or Charge Jump. Oh my goodness.
I kind of want to play the seed now. see how badly it was trolling them.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting one. Like, especially after the Raziel Randomson one, where it literally gave them, like, everything. Oh, man. It's just like having a seed like this where it gives you almost everything and then makes you dig deep.
Also, getting word from the truck that Meldon does not have wall jump. I don't think I realized that for this whole race. Fluffy had wall jump.
Yeah, Fluffy found wall jump in Moon Grotto past the pillar puzzle over to the left, right by that petrified plant.
Interesting.
So to the left of that Moon Grotto, that's where wall jump was hidden.
Is that the one way off to the left, like past the little pillars that go up and down?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the one.
That's so interesting because, as we talked about at the start of the race, a lot of your routing and randomizer comes down to statistics. And you say, in that particular example, that pickup is annoying to get to, and it takes a long time, and, well, it's one pickup. And so in this run, it happened to be something valuable, but generally speaking, it's, as far as all of your different collectibles go, that's a pretty good one to skip.
Yeah, absolutely. So, really interesting play that Fluffy actually dug a little bit more earlier on through that Moon Grotto and decided to skip a lot of pickups later on. It's definitely showing the type of versatile randomizer player that Fluffy is. Very excited to see what he brings in the rest of the tournament. And of course, singles is just the start, guys. We also have a doubles bracket forming, and it is going to be taking off next week, I believe. So that is very excited to see those matches as well. Agreed.
You're in a doubles team yourself, aren't you, Muffin?
Oh, well, yes I am! So my opponent for the first round in singles was my doubles teammate, Elo Jiminy, and we are known as Team Forlorn, which is why I was yelling about how excited I was that people were going to Forlorn.
Right side of your screen, Meldon has gotten into the final escape, so he'll have to do the same thing as Fluffy, albeit without wall jump, I suppose. But
yeah,
a glide... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, we're interrupting each other. You go.
All right, here we go. So it was very insane. Meldon also was able to pull out a first try door warp, lowering that average back down a little bit, below 2.333 repeating. So well done, Meldon.
Thankfully, doing a glideless escape is not too difficult at this point in the game. They have, I think, 2 different air dashes with the extra air dash pickup. Yep. And even though the water's poison and they don't have glide, they have health. They've got all kinds of cool skills. Looks like Meldon is going for fish strats.
Yeah, I like this play because it can be really hard to despawn Kuro or just skip the spawn trigger. And there we go! Meldon getting through the fires of Mount Koru escape and going to be finishing with a time. Congratulations, Meldon. Really nicely done.
Still a solid time for both of them. I'd say that Fluffy winning this one, no disrespect to Fluffy, but it did primarily come down to sort of luck that Meldon wasn't able to find glide quickly, given that he kept going out of his way for collectibles.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how the awkwardness of the randomizer, like what you're actually comfortable doing and skipping, is always so impressive to see players do. Like Fluffy with a really great showing of getting through Sorrow and key duping so many times in that area without any glide was really pretty insane to see. And then Meldon just digging for glide for a little bit too long. Added on just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm still actually surprised that Fluffy duped as much as he did. I think it ended up being ultimately unnecessary to dupe that many times, but I mean, we know they get enough keystones, and that's worth something. Meldon coming in then with the final time on SRL of 56:37. Still a very solid time given how Water Vein was all the way down in Forlorn Ruins.
Wow, absolutely awesome. Congratulations, Meldon, for the 56:36. That is an excellent time with what they were given. Like charge jump is also just one of those skills that allows you to just have so much mobility and access to so much of the map. Being starved of charge jump for that entire seed made so many areas just so much more difficult. Whenever I get climb seeds, and then you getting grenade that early, I'm like, oh, please charge jump so I can just grenade jump everywhere.
That's like a momentary like dread of like you pick up climb, you're like, oh my god, it's one of these.
Yeah, and being starved of wall jump for the entire seed, Meldon doing a great job, but Fluffy picking up wall jump a little bit later on. That being said, Grim, taking a look at this bracket here as we begin to close out, we now know that Fluffy is going to be moving on to the quarterfinals, and the person he's going to face is either VG Bramble or Chicken Supreme. Both of them are going to be terrifying opponents. Then up above, we see that Trojan Dude was able to conquer over Wilson to move on to quarterfinals, and he will be facing the winner of Mad Insane and Terra. This lower bracket is definitely showing some really strong players, and as we start going further and further into the tournament, I start getting a little scared of myself that I might have to face one of these opponents later on, as well as everybody remaining in the top bracket. There's so many good speedrunners taking part in this tournament.
Well, this is just so interesting. As you compare to, say, the other major org tournament we had for all skills where there is not randomness in it, you could look at the seed numbers and you could talk about how people have been practicing, and it's just so different. Like, Fluffy won this race, but for all we know, Meldon could have won the next one, or you could have any kind of results. So the seeding values, as you said, are based off of an initial seeding race that was done, but I think even more so than the regular all skills runs, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen in any of these races. So much of it just comes down to sort of on the fly decision making. It makes them so interesting to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we see the other half of the bracket. We see Oshi and Rory Rai still have to play out their match. Then that winner will go up against none other than Raziel, who's probably one of the favored people to win this entire tournament. So, oh my goodness, that is going to be a really excellent match to watch. And then we have Shed versus Bryn Holtz. The winner of that will go up against me in the quarterfinals. Oh man, another two scary speedrunners. Yep. Oh, so impressive. That being said, though, guys, if you were enjoying the tournament tonight, definitely come back tomorrow because we're going to have some excellent matches going on. We're going to feature Rory Rai versus Oshi at 1 p.m. Eastern, and then we're going to have Shed versus Bryn Holtz starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Grim, do you have any closing statements before we close out the stream?
Join the Ori Discord if you're not there already. It's full of memes.
Yes, full of memes. And there's lots of guides for both picking up the speed run of all skills and other categories, as well as the randomizer, because we also have casual seeds. So if you enjoyed playing Ori in the Blind Forest and want to try this out for yourself, you don't need to know any of speed running tech just to enjoy having the game completely mess with your brain and emotions.
Which will happen pretty frequently, but...
Yep, it will. Oh my goodness. Dude, Grim, thank you so much for casting with me tonight. That was so much fun.
Dude, pleasure. Hopefully we get to do it again sometime.
Aw, yeah. Alright guys, this is going to do it from us from the Ori Randomizer crew. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Later.